Hi BookTube, this is Lindsay from Lindsay Reads, and I'm here with my dog Tucker. You can't really see him. Kinda, there he is. I decided to film a video outside because my dog was sitting out in the sun in my little patio here, so I thought I would give a try to filming outside. It's nice warm weather on this lovely Sunday, and so yeah, we'll just see how this goes. From what it looks like to me, the picture, the coloring is a little bit like yellow. But yeah, let me know how this looks on your end. So yes, it's my friend. I can move my camera so hope you don't get sick looking at it. But here is my dog Tucker. He's a Dutch Shepherd. I always get lots of questions about him because I don't know if you can pick it up in the picture, but he's a brindle. He's a long-haired brindle, and you see his white. He's a little white mustache because he's an older dog. But yes, I wanted to introduce Tucker because Winnie has been on my videos quite a bit, but Tucker hasn't. And so yeah, I thought this would be a good time to include him in the video. So yes, the first book, this is, sorry for not mentioning this, I'm sure you'll see it in the title, but this is my weekly reads for this last week. But it is almost the end of the month, so maybe that's on my mind. So the first one I read was Snow and Rose by Emily Winfield Martin, and this was for the Owls Readathon, and it was for a retelling. And so this one I picked because it was short and sweet, and it was illustrated, which was I really enjoyed the pictures. I wish I had the physical copy or something so I could show you, or I had kept the ebook so I could show you some of the pictures. But the illustrations are pretty much like the cover here. So I'm not used to this angle. I moved the picture to a different spot so I could get Tucker in the room. I was going to take over the video. Maybe he's not used to me talking. So he actually, because in our house, my boyfriend's deaf, and so I never talk in the house, and so he's like, "What's going on?" Like he's a little bit I don't know. He's like, yeah, he normally he's a quiet dog, but he's like moving around a bit because I'm sitting here rambling. Anyway, so yes, this book, I've read a couple of Grimm's fairy tale. I've read a couple like condensed versions, not the full like big book of fairy tales, but I've read like an abridged version. And I'm not the biggest fan of fairy tales, but I do like them, so I thought I would give this a try. And yeah, it was okay. Like I feel like the characters could have been developed. Like I remember dog developed a lot more. But yeah, I'm glad I gave it a shot. I really like the illustrations. Like I said, it's the story. It's not. I thought it was like Snow White and Red Riding Hood, but it's actually the retelling of Snow White and Rose Red. So it was not exactly those characters, but yes, the characters were kind of like flat. They didn't have much dimension. It's about of course there's woods involved. Their father goes missing, and so they were living this happy life, and they're left with their mother and them too, and they're like struggling, and so they decide to go off into the woods to try and find their father, and adventure ensues. The next book I read was for the Amish readathon. Was Amish in April, I believe, was what the read along was called, and it's still going on. But the challenge was read a summer, spring, fall, and winter Amish book. But I just decided to go with a spring book because I don't have a lot of Amish fiction on my TBR, and so I decided to go with Mending Fences by Suzanne Woods Fisher. And this just came out. Let's see, it came out recently. In February of this year, and it is it's the first book in the Deakins family. And I've read one other book by her. I can't remember that trilogy. It was like The Letters, if I believe that was the name of the series. I don't have to be sure, but those characters were in this book. But it's focusing on Luke, who he's come back to the Amish community after being an alcoholic, and he's working through the Alcoholics Anonymous and the AA step program. And his church is involved. The Amish church is involved in helping him through this, and so it's all about him redeeming himself and coming back to the community and trying to do better, basically. And so you're like I said, you meet some of the characters that, you know, you're reintroduced to some of these characters, but in a different perspective. And so, yeah, I mean, I really enjoyed it. I really like her writing. I think I will for sure, if I'm going to pick up another Amish book, I would go with one of hers. But yeah, it's something else I want to talk about it. I should have wrote some like notes or something. But yes, it's all about, it's kind of a different, I like her writing because it's a kind of different take on normal Amish fiction, because her character is very flawed. Like Amish fiction, I think sometimes can be, you know, very like Christian. Of course, they're all Christian based, but they can be very sweet, overly sweet. I don't know if that's the right word. And so now have a lot of like conflict involved. And so this one, you know, like, you know, talking about alcoholics and, you know, like, you know, substance use. And so that's like a different way of talking about, you know, including that in the Amish fiction. So I do like her writing. This next book that I finished was actually a physical book. I had leftover birthday and Christmas money from Barnes & Noble, and I never buy new books, and nonetheless physical books. So this is the book I chose. It's The Cow with Ear Tag, $13.89 by Catherine Gillespie. Look at me, the physical book. Oh my goodness. So the first physical book I've read this year. I do read some physical books, but most of it tends to be in the summer when I have like lighting, natural lighting, you know, in the evening, because I don't like I used to only read physical books, but I don't like being like holed up near a lamp, you know, like I'm sitting there reading like this, you know, or something like that. And so I tend to read physical books during this, you know, spring, summer, fall, when I have more light. That's kind of a weird thing, but yeah, this book I've seen, I think it was on Steve Donahue's channel, I think, and I've seen it, I think whatever that guy's channel, I've seen it anyway. So I was like, I had my Barnes & Noble card, and yeah, so I chose this one because I thought, you know, if I'm going to buy a new book, I want to give it to you know, a book I think, you know, deserves that my money. And so this is the University of Chicago Press book, and it came out in 2018, I believe. Let me just double check. Yes, 2018. So this is all about focusing on the dairy industry. And I've read a couple of books about, you know, farming, agricultural and you know, like massive farming. It's not what you think of, you know, before I knew about anything like mass farming, I always thought, you know, the cows and the pigs and the, you know, the chickens, you know, they're all living together in a nice, peaceful, you know, small town farm. But that's not the case. And especially if we're talking about these, the dairy cows, it focuses like some on California, where I'm at right now, where, you know, large, huge, massive companies basically, you know, are California milk. And so anyway, it's not exactly the happiest story. This cow, it's weird. This title is talking about this one specific cow, and I thought it was going to follow this cow throughout its journey, but it doesn't. It focuses on many different cows and stories. This woman, reporter Catherine, she goes to different farms and auctions, and what do you call them? Like farm festivals, to learn more about the dairy industry and do some reporting on that. And so you learn about all different cows from different expos she's at, and like different farms she goes to. She gets you get an aspect of many different situations. She goes to a small farm in Washington, and then she goes to a huge farm in California. But then she also visits some farm sanctuaries where there are rescued animals that you know, were pulled from these huge corporations basically, and so, you know, are rehabilitated, and, you know, are kind of like represent like ambassadors to, you know, what these animals, instead of like being farmed for you know, beef and bacon, you know, how they, you know, they should kind of like, you know, this is one animal that was saved compared to all the other ones, you know, that are like slaughtered. And so it's farm sanctuaries, or she talks about, like, she goes to like, I think 3 or 4 of them, one in Washington, 2 in California, and 1 in Vermont. So you get all aspects of the dairy industry. And I'm a vegetarian. I'm not a vegan. Vegetarians, like, they do consume dairy and eggs and honey. But when I first started out on this journey, I went cold turkey, like vegan. I was vegan for 3 months, but I kind of slacked off on it because it was really hard to find food in restaurants, which is so silly because a lot of like at home, I can control everything that's in my food, but at restaurants often, like, vegetarian dishes came with cheese, or they were made with milk, or there was one of those 3 products in my food. But this makes me really want to go completely vegan because the dairy industry, even though I'm not consuming like the flesh of the animal, I'm still contributing to that harm, and this book for sure showcases that, and how the dairy industry is not no better basically than a slaughter, a beef cattle, because these animals, after they've been worn out completely from being used in the dairy industry, they are sent to slaughter for ground beef, because their bodies are so worn out, they can't be used for like prime meat. They have to be, they're all, like, if you're eating a hamburger, you're eating a dairy cow basically. So yes, this book, I highly recommend it. And I actually, this is a kind of hint to, I'm going to be doing a book haul, actually. My first book haul. I feel like I'm an official booktuber. Because I bought a couple books along with this one this month. So the next book I read was This Much Country by Kristen Knight Pace. And this one is another nonfiction book. And this one, as you can kind of see, it's a yellow cover. But you can see like this dog sledding, and it's all about, it's kind of like a memoir of this woman's journey to how she becomes like a musher in Alaska, and she's running these dogs. She runs the dogs and sledding, and she actually does the Iditarod. And so it's a really cool book on how this, she's from Dallas area in Texas, and how she ends up, falling in love with Alaska, and her journey with these animals. And so I really liked it because I always like books set in Alaska, because especially nonfiction books, because it's such a different climate from anything we can experience within the lower 48, I think that's what they call it, 49, 48. Yeah. So yes, this was a really good book. It's a really nice, short, quick memoir, and it also includes her like relationships that she goes through, and her heartbreak, and then also like the various jobs she attains to finally end up being a running dogs in a dog sled. This next book is a fiction, The Editor by Stephen Rowley. And this is a book I mentioned before that I've been meaning to read. It's about a young man who he wants to publish his book, and he's been trying, sending his book out there, and it so happens that Jacqueline Kennedy Onassis is the one who picks up his book. She really likes it, and so she kind of she works with him to get it published. And I thought going into this that she would be a huge part of this book. I mean, she was in it, but she wasn't this massive character, which I thought would kind of be like them two, got going back and forth kind of in a way. But she definitely was present in the book. But yeah, it was a really interesting take on him, because it's also, my dog's moving. He hopefully doesn't touch the camera. Okay, there. Fast, safely, without knocking the camera away. Okay, back to what I was saying. So yes, it's all about him kind of like getting used to his success. He's been struggling for a long time, and so it's all about how his friends and family react to him being a published author. And so yes, it was a really nice book. It didn't have, like I said, it didn't have as much as Kennedy as I wanted. I think I want a book about Kennedy, I have to read a biography of Jacqueline. But it was a nice snippet to learn something about her. This next book, oh my goodness, it was harrowing. I listened to this on audiobook, and I didn't get the narrator's name, but I was at work, and I'm like, taking notes and whatnot, and my hands were sweating listening to the book, because it had like the descriptions when you got to like these moments of describing. Anyway, I'll show you the cover, then you'll understand what I'm talking about. This is the cover, and it's The Impossible Climb, Alex Honnold, El Capitan, in the Climbing Life, and it's by Mark Sinai. And I don't know if you can see, but he's climbing on this big rock, and there's this one little guy, and he's just hanging on there. And hopefully you can see him. But it's all about how, what do they call it? They climb without rope, without any gear. So I think solo climbing is what it was called. Oh, yeah, I was sweating because I don't like heights. I mean, I can handle them, but it's not my favorite thing. I don't like flying. So yeah, it's just like these people, they're insane. They're absolutely crazy. But it not only talks about Alex Honnold, but he's definitely the main focus, but it does mention, other people, especially, people who have died, with these extreme sports of, often like this is, Alex Honnold, climbed El Capitan, and that's in, Yosemite Valley, which is a steep, like, half dome, like, it's like a very, like, almost like, flat, vertical, rock is kind of like cut in half. So in a way, what was I saying? I'm sorry, I'm blanking. I'm just like thinking about this guy like climbing it. So anyway, if you focus on him and you're doing all these extreme climbs, and how he got to this point, and but anyway, it's mentioning other people as well. Like it talks about how they study these rocks and how to climb up them, but often it seems like that many people die just like it's about one man who was just going from a simple little rock to this other destination to actually go to this destination that he wanted to climb this big rock, and he died, just one false move basically, and you're dead, which is crazy. Like if you had ropes, then you could save yourself, but they just like, I don't know, the thrill and fun and that experience and the expertise that they need required to do these extreme climbs. And then also mentions another sport, kind of like hang gliding, but it's I looked it up and I can't remember what it's called, but it looks kind of like a Batman suit with like if they spread their arms out, there's like little flaps here, and then if they open up their legs, it's like a it's kind of like hang gliding, so they're like flying through the air, and these two men like were just killed because they were trying to go through this arch, and they like they just like they didn't go the right angle, and they both like just crashed and killed themselves because there's not as much safety involved because you're just wearing this suit, and so yeah, it was just a little wild read. If you like extreme sports, or I don't like extreme sports, I do not participate in anything like that, but I thought it'd be intriguing book to read about, to get inside their heads of what are they thinking, what are these people doing, and this came out in 2018 October, so it's a fairly new book. And this last book I read was a thriller, My Lovely Wife, by Samantha Downing. And I really like this cover. Hopefully you can see that. With her face in the knife here. And it reminded me a lot of Gone Girl, except in Gone Girl you have the perspective of the man and the woman. You get inside of his head and then it flips to her perspective. And this, it's only from the husband's perspective. And I was hoping you would get the woman's, but you don't. I mean, you definitely see her actions. But yes, she is an evil woman. She is conniving and cold. And yes. I don't want to give too much away because that's a thriller. And but yeah, the book, it compares it, Dexter meets Mr. and Mrs. Smith. I've never seen Dexter, but it's about, it's the same thing. I want to say in the description that doesn't give it away. It doesn't mention the killings or anything, but of course there's a knife, so there's going to be killings. So yes, I don't want to say anything, or I just happen to be getting away. Okay, it says we all have secrets to keep a marriage alive. Ours just happens to be getting away with murder. So yes, this couple decide for kicks and giggles to kill some people. To spice up their marriage is basically how it goes. But one of them, you can't tell who, goes a little bit further than the other one is expecting, and all sorts of shenanigans ensue. So yes, these are the books I read this last week. Hopefully it wasn't too all over the place with my dog and being outside. Hopefully the audio quality and the visual is okay. Let me know. I don't know how often I would film outside. I mean, it does get pretty hot here in California, but right now it's cool enough for me to just sit out here, and at least I'm in the shade for the most part. So yes, thanks. See you soon, BookTube.